Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. And real quick before I get into the topic of today's video, the Discord link in the video description is now permanent, so it won't expire after 7 hours. Which, that surprisingly took me more time to figure out than I would like to admit. But either way, it's permanent now, so if you guys want to go in there, talk to me about things, you can. It can be about anything. But I want to get into the topic of today's video, and that is the Chicago Bulls. Because the Chicago Bulls are the one team that is absolutely stuck dead center in the middle of the NBA. You know, I said this plenty of times on my channel, that if you're in the NBA, you're either a team that is rich or you're poor, right? There is no in-between, because if you're in the in-between, then not only are you not attracting free agents, but you're not getting good draft picks as well. You know what I'm saying? Like the Indiana Pacers for the longest time refused to tank. And even to this day, it's like they kind of refuse to tank. They did a little bit of a tank job the past couple of years, but like they've been a team that historically has refused to tank. And the Chicago Bulls are now in that same situation. A team that's like, yeah, we're just going to keep together what we got. It's not winning us a championship anytime soon, but it's also like not enough for us to be the worst basketball team in the league. And not for nothing, but they're a team that probably should be considering, yeah, we should be one of the worst teams in the league. Because I look at this roster, and there is not a single player on this roster that I look at and go, yeah, that's the future of their franchise in 8 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is not a single person on this fucking roster that I look at and say that about. You know, at least if we look at a team like the Portland Trailblazers, or the Detroit Pistons, or the Indiana Pacers, it's like, yeah, these teams have cornerstones. Even the fucking Charlotte Hornets have a cornerstone in LaMelo Ball. You know what I'm saying? They at least got something going on over there. They got Mark Williams. They got Brandon Miller. Like, they got good young prospects, and they're building something. All these teams have something to at least look forward to in the future. The fucking Chicago Bulls have nothing to look forward to. I can't believe I'm saying that about a basketball team, but they have no future, bro. Like, you have 1 year left with DeMar DeRozan. He is 34 years old. Guess what? At the trade deadline this year, you're going to have to trade him. Like, this is a team that by the All-Star break, they're going to be sellers. And they have to be sellers. And if they're not sellers, the GM's going to lose his fucking job. Mark Eversley is his name, I think. Chicago Bulls GM, Mark Eversley. Okay, Mark Eversley has been the GM of this team for 4 fucking years, and my man's is gonna lose his job if he don't start pulling in some draft picks. All right, like, you have the Lonzo Ball injury, which I get it. It's not the Chicago Bulls' fault. If anything, that's, LeVar Ball's fault for the fucking shoes he made his kids wear. Okay, like, supposedly, but it's just the idea. Lonzo Ball was the whole thing, the driving factor of this team. And you do not have him for this entire season. He has a player option for next year, which he's probably going to pick up, considering the idea that he's probably never going to make $20 million in a single season ever again in his life. So, if he even plays basketball ever again in his life. So, you have a huge question with Lonzo Ball on your roster, right? You have a 29-year-old Alex Caruso. You have a 28-year-old Zach LaVine. You have a 32-year-old Nikola Vucevic on your roster. For whatever fucking reason, you decided to bring back Kobe White, and Kobe White is fucking terrible, okay? Like, he has not been the guy that we expected. You brought back Ayo Dosunmu, who's okay, but you have Dalen Terry, you have a 30-year-old Andre Drummond. Like, I'm sorry, but the future for this team looks hopeless. Patrick Williams is 22. He has a team option this year, but even Patrick Williams has not been the guy that we all expected him to be. Now, Patrick Williams is probably one of the more solid players on this roster as far as an all-around guy goes, but I'm at a point now where I'm like, they should just have a fucking fire sale with the guys that they have and pull in as many draft picks and young players as humanly possible. Like, I'm going to be honest. If I'm the GM of the Chicago Bulls, I'm calling Detroit about James Wiseman or Isaiah Stewart. Okay? You got an influx of young centers. You have Jalen Duren, James Wiseman, and Isaiah Stewart. Okay? If I'm the Chicago Bulls, you're giving me one of them. Okay? So that's the first thing. I'm trading somebody over there to get me a young center. Okay? Then I'm trading Zach LaVine for I don't know who. Maybe I trade his ass to fucking Miami for Tyler Hero and maybe I get me some picks out of it. But like, or like you just need to get younger, and you need to at least get somebody on your roster who you might have a future with. Because Zach LaVine's 28. Now, I understand Zach LaVine is locked in under contract until 2025, 2026 with a player option for 2026, 2027, but I don't see him picking up that player option. I just don't. I'm sorry, this is your last year with DeMar DeRozan, okay? You have Alex Caruso locked in for another 2 years, but he's 29, right? Like, Nikola Vucevic, you re-signed him, but he's not like a great center. Like, he's good, but he's not great. Like, they should just trade Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and who else? Nikola Vucevic, all for draft picks. Like, that's what you should do. If you are the Chicago Bulls, you need to do what Oklahoma City did. You need to do what the Utah Jazz did. Just fucking get rid of everything. Get your draft picks. Maybe get some young players if you can in there. You know, like, obviously for Zach LaVine, like, you could get something decent for him. Same thing with Nikola Vucevic. You could maybe get a young player and a pick for him to the right team that needs a center. But this is a team that I'm like, they have no fucking future. And for whatever reason, the Chicago Bulls GM, fucking Mark Eversley, seems to think that putting literally the same exact fucking team out there on the floor for you is going to be any different than what you did last season. And if I'm correct, they were not a very good team last year. They went 40-42 last year, and I'm guaranteeing you that record's going to be even worse when you consider the idea that the Bucks got better. Okay, like the Bucks just got Damian Lillard. Okay, like they got better. And, you know, now also the Boston Celtics have Drew Holiday now. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Pacers got better. Washington's doing their thing over there with the Jordan Poole trade. You know what I'm saying? Like the East is not great, but it's better than it was last year. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a team like the Chicago Bulls. I'm going to tell you right now, Chicago Bulls will maybe win 32 to 35 games. If they're lucky, they'll win 37. Like, this is a team that is not good. They are one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. Like, they don't defend the pick and roll well at all. And, like, this is a team that's, like, riding the coattails of a 34-year-old DeMar DeRozan and a 28-year-old Zach LaVine. And, yeah, they're good players, but you need to put something around them. And Mark Eversley didn't do that. So, I look at this team, man, and I think it needs an overhaul from top to bottom. I was going to call it what it is. Like, I think it needs an overhaul from top to bottom. I don't know if it's, like, shitty ownership or ticket sales. Like, that's what the owners are worried about, is ticket sales. I don't know what it is, but the moves the Chicago Bulls have made this offseason scream, I care about ticket sales and nothing else. Because, like, why would you bring back Nikola Vucevic? You know what I'm saying? Like, I kind of get why you would, but, like, I'm thinking to myself, why don't you just tank? Like, tank. Do what bad teams do in the NBA, or teams that have no future do. Fucking tank. Get rid of Nikola Vucevic. Trade him for a young player and a first-round pick. DeMar DeRozan, same thing. Trade him maybe if you can get something, a young player and a first-round pick, or maybe a young player, or maybe 2 first-round picks to a team that maybe has $34 million in cap space sitting around, which they don't. Or maybe like a decent player and a first-round pick. And when it comes to Zach LaVine, unload him for a young player and 2 or 3 first-round picks. Like, Zach LaVine is that good. And this is a team that has not signed players. They have not been able to attract anybody to Chicago, which is shocking to me, considering it's the franchise that Michael Jordan played for. They can't attract free agents. They have not drafted well. Like, this is a team that I think just needs a complete overhaul. And I think Chicago Bulls fans would even agree with that. Like, I've seen Chicago Bulls fans flat out just say, like, this team needs to rebuild. And they do. Like, I understand why they're keeping it together to an extent, because they don't want to look like tankers. But you're playing for a fucking pick this year. Like, I hate to break it to you, if you're a Chicago Bulls fan, hate to break it to you, you're playing for a draft pick this year. You're playing for a fucking lottery pick. And you're going to get it. But the fact of the matter is, if you're playing for a lottery pick, you might as well play for the best pick that you can get, okay? Like, if you're going to be playing for, like, the 10th or 11th pick, or even the fucking 15th pick, all right? You might as well play for the best pick that you can get. And they're a team that I'm just like, I don't see what the goal is. I don't see where the direction is. Like, this is a team with no direction. You know what I'm saying? They're the only team in the NBA with like no direction at all. You know what I'm saying? And I think to myself, like, at least the Knicks, even the Knicks, as middle of the pack as they are, it's like they have Jalen Brunson. They've got Julius Randle. They're playing for a playoff spot. I mean, even the Pacers, like, yeah, their roster isn't amazing, but they're playing for a playoff spot. The Chicago Bulls are playing for fucking draft picks. So, I don't know, man. I think it's time to call it quits on Zach LaVine. Time to call it. You're gonna have to trade DeMar DeRozan. Like, that's what I don't get about this. I'm like, okay, you resign Nikola Vucevic, but you're gonna have to trade DeMar DeRozan. And honestly, DeMar DeRozan has been, at times, arguably your best player. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a moment, 2 years ago, where people were putting DeMar DeRozan in the MVP conversation over Zach LaVine and shit. So I'm like, you know, like, you're gonna have to trade arguably your best player at the trade deadline this year. So, and you're not gonna get much for him because he's got 1 year left on his deal and he's 34. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't understand what the ownership is doing. I don't understand what the front office is doing. They don't draft well. It is a fucking disaster. And I'm a little shocked. Like, they were the one team over the entire offseason. I was like, they're a team that's going to make a move. Like, they're a team that's like, once I heard Lonzo Ball wasn't coming back, I expected them to make a move for another point guard that would maybe put them on track. But they didn't even do that. So I'm like, okay, so then what the fuck are we doing? You know? So, I don't know, man. The Chicago Bulls are a fucking dumpster fire, and there are Chicago Bulls fans who will absolutely 100% agree with that. Now, I guarantee I'm going to get a few in the comment section who are like, yeah, we're going to be great. You're not going to be great. You won 40 games last year in an Eastern Conference that was not as good as it is this year. So, if you win 37 games, I kind of consider it a gift. So, I don't know, man. Tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Like, helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more on the Fast Break Report. And out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.